Hi, guys.
We're actually on time. Woohoo! But, I finished editing for both my clients and finished writing two of the books that I was writing, so I'm just editing Survivor now. So I actually have time. It's
Yeah.
so wonderful and very weird. Like, before we texted, I was like, if we didn't do the check-in tonight, I have no idea what I would be working on. I feel so lost
Yeah.
because it's like I have all this time and like I have been trying to do more marketing because like there's just emails and marketing and just that kind of stuff that I push aside, but it feels very weird to have time to myself.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
This is the
yeah.
second of
So
our.
you finished Harry Potter.
I did. I finished Half Blood Prince. I was not
Yeah, I
expecting
can't remember the title.
as angsty of an ending as what I got. Okay, the event that I thought was going to happen happened. Like, spoiler alert. Like, I knew at some point that because I saw a clip of it happening of the movie, so I knew that Dumbledore was going to die somehow, and I knew that Draco was
Oh,
supposed
I
to
didn't know
do
if
it.
that was when he died or not.
Yeah, I knew.
Yeah.
Then I knew that Draco was supposed to do it, but he didn't, and Snape and like Severus stepped up and did it anyway. Did it for Draco. Like I knew that was going to happen, but we got to. It was funny because the short that I finally posted this morning when I had a free moment. It was funny because the video from yesterday ends, and I never got it posted yesterday, and I added a little clip, and I'm like, well, if I would have just waited like a couple chapters before making that video, the things that I thought were going to happen happened. So it was kind of funny. But yeah, so
That is funny.
yeah, it honestly.
Is that the same way in the movies? Because I don't remember Draco or Snape killing him.
Oh yeah.
But I've only seen most of them once, so
yeah, I think yeah,
it's been a while.
And it was because that was the big thing is like because Harry never trusted Snape, and so when because in the books Dumbledore pleads for he just says Severus please, and doesn't really explain why he's saying please, but like my kind of theory is that it was kind of planned ahead of time, and that Dumbledore and Severus had kind of planned this out ahead of time and be like, I need you to do this. Like, I need you to do this. Because, like, in this whole book, like, his hand is black. And over the course of the book, you learn about the Horcruxes. I think I'm probably saying that wrong. And, like,
No,
the reason why Dumbledore, one of his hands was black and essentially was dying is because he grabbed Slytherin, the founder, Slytherin, his ring, and there's like a big curse on it, and so that whole thing, and so he's been going through this whole book, was talking about teaching Harry essentially about Voldemort's backstory, which is really intriguing to get, by the way. And it's really interesting, like how similar Harry's upbringing and Voldemort's was, because they were both without parents. But the difference was, and it's like, and I can see where the reason why Dumbledore made certain decisions with Harry is what he did, the way he did, was because, like, he didn't want Harry to end up, to turn up like, he didn't want another Voldemort. Like, instead of just sending him to an orphanage, he sends him, like Voldemort was, he was sent to his family, where Dumbledore assumed that they would love him. But he does address the Dursleys in the book and say, you failed to do what I asked you to do. You were supposed to treat him like a son, and you didn't. And you put him through a lot of pain and all of this other. It's like, he's like, you didn't do what I asked you to do. So he calls them out on it.
Which honestly says a lot that Harry still turned out good despite the pain that he went through versus Voldemort.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting dynamic there.
Yeah. And so it's like, and it's just, I don't know. And it was like, I don't know. Dumbledore feels like Gandalf to me. And I don't know if it's just me wanting Dumbledore to not be dead, like to come back. But I'm like, Gandalf became Gandalf the White, so I mean, it could happen, you know. I don't.
That's
okay,
funny.
So Deathly Hallows is the book I know the least about. So I'm excited to eventually get into that. But at the same time, I am ready for my books this month and my stack of books. So I went ahead. I read the first chapter of this before I started Half-Blood Prince, and I just wasn't into it. And I'm starting to get more into it now. It's really interesting. It's about a group of girls that yeah, and so it's really interesting, and like the dynamics of the story is kind of being set up right now, and she was just given a task, and so I don't know, the character's an interesting character, and like her backstory compared to the others is really kind of interesting and different. Kind of reminds me of Anakin a little bit in a way, but not like a chosen one type of thing. Not like scratch the whole chosen one bit. It was just like he's older than some of the others. The other, like,
right.
You get the idea.
Yeah.
Where I'm heading with that. So it's like it kind of has that kind of vibe, but without the Jedi, without the chosen one, savior of the world type of thing. Kind of.
Makes sense.
Yeah. A little, but I'm enjoying it so far. I haven't, like, I'm at chapter 4, but I haven't really sticky tabbed anything, which is weird. So I don't know if I just haven't really gotten any like, oh, that's a really good quote, or oh, this is so sad, or oh, that's funny. It's just kind of basic introduction. Like, it's not boring, but it's like, it's definitely interesting. But it's just, I haven't really had like a huge like motivation to sticky tab yet. So we'll see.
That makes, yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I just want to get out of my reading slump so bad. I don't like wanting to DNF books and like reading books out of obligation and not because I'm genuinely excited about the story. And I have this weird relationship with this book where it's like, I don't hate it. And there's literally, it will change from page to page. I'll be like, oh, this is really interesting. Really? I'm so into it. And the next page is like super boring.
Oh,
and it literally is never, yeah. But the thing is, okay, this gives me Throne of Glass vibes. But Throne of Glass felt more put together with a plot line. And like there's no assassin and there's no assassin competition, but you know how had the mystery, like you're in a fantasy setting, you're in a set location and somebody's being killed off by this creature, you don't know what creature or who did it or whatever.
Yeah.
That vibe is happening here.
Oh.
She's a lot more tolerable for me than Selena because Selena was an assassin. She is more of like this protected virgin priestess, like she's not really a priestess, but like she's going to become ascended, and so she's very isolated, protected. She can't interact with anybody. She has no life basically. And she still knows how to fight and stuff, but it's more like her bodyguard just wanted her to know how to protect herself. And it's very creature based, like, oh, we go here and this creature did this thing and we got to do this thing and now this is happening and it may be another type of creature, and it's just like one creature episode after another, kind of. And other than the initial instance when we had the meet cute, so to speak, between her and the main guy, we haven't heard from him since then. Whereas like in Throne of Glass, Dorian and or Kale was very present in the story, and you knew one of them was going to become a love interest. And there was also no spice. And this one, they met in like a brothel, and he mistaked her for somebody else. No, it's not really spoilers. It's just kind of like immediately the story starts there.
Yeah.
And I won't spoil what happens at that point, but it's like mistaken identity, and it was kind of funny, but like it was just like instant attraction, instant spice for no reason other than whatever. And so I just don't know if it's going to get good, and it doesn't really, like, the mystery is kind of plotline-ish. It feels also very exposition heavy, where it's like she's standing in a room and she's looking out over this place and there's a description of this thing, and then there's like world building, and then like this thing is this, that. And I love the world building, but sometimes the exposition is just so much, there's no dialogue and there's nothing happening in the story. I'm just kind of like bored, and then the next page, like, oh, there's one page where something exciting's happening. There is a character in here that I hate that is written, you're meant to hate the character, and for some reason I get excited when that character's involved because it's making me feel something besides just
I get that.
But I don't know, I kind of want to DNF it, but then I'm like, I don't know what I would want to read anyway, and so I've been playing around with the idea of Assassin's Blade, which I know you would want me to read, but I feel like at least stuff would be happening. But then if I'm in a reading slump, will Assassin's Blade be the book to get me out of it?
Here's the thing. On Goodreads, I'm pretty sure each of the little short stories in Assassin's Blade count as a book. So if you really wanted to, you could read one of the short stories and be like, I finished one. Let me double check that to make sure.
It would, Fable too. If it counts on both Goodreads and Fable, then I would technically be okay with doing that.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yep. So the first one is the assassin and the pirate lord. And they all count. It's like 0.1, and so they all count as individual things, but they're all grouped together in Assassin's Blade. So it's like it's Assassin's Blade.
Like this, where I was able to review this book as a whole, and then each of the stories in there. Of course, these are not.
So like Assassin's Blade is set when it's labeled like book whatever. It's labeled book 0.1 through 0.5. So there's 5 like little short stories in there.
Okay. I don't know why I thought there were 3. That's cool.
Yeah. So like I said, and that's where it's like I was introduced. I started the series with that. And it was like, they were very fast-paced stories because it's like a short story. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it was that kind of vibe. So I was like,
shorter than this.
It was really like getting into it. And, but then there's progression throughout the short stories too. So it's like, you start to like learn, I don't know, it's weird. You learn so much about Selena. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting Selena. Yeah, I was getting my names confused, but
that's funny.
Yeah, I had a brain fog. It's a Monday night on a snow makeup day.
Yeah, okay, but yeah. So for me, it's like with this, it's like not Game of Thrones, Throne of Glass, but like it has better writing because it's more prosy, and she wrote Throne of Glass a long time ago. But with Throne of Glass, I had you motivating me, and I had you, and I knew it was going to get better. And I heard from so many other fans that like you push through the first 2 books, it's going to get better. With this, I've seen a lot of reviews, and people say it gets worse after book 2, especially. Oh. And also, I just don't know if this book's going to get better.
What if I mean, if you want, that could be a book that you and I read together. Like, I'm totally fine with that. So that way, like...
Right, the motivation.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So if you want, honestly, if you just want to table it for, like, later in the month, and then we could try it later in the month, I'm fine with that.
I'm good with it, too. So, we'll see. Again, it's like every other page, I'm like, oh, I do want to keep reading. And then there's a page that'll happen, and then it's like...
I get
But
that.
I think Assassin's Blade would be kind of a good choice, because then... If Goodreads and Fable will count it toward my reading goal with each different story completed, then I'm like, you know what? Let's get ahead a little bit and get me out of this reading slump. So, But I also we watched the first 2 episodes of Tales of the Underworld. I haven't seen the other. Let's see, there's 6, so that means 4. I haven't seen the other 4, and it does feature Ventress, and it starts off with the end of the book, and so I'm kind of interested in Dark Disciple. So I've read the prologue and the first page, but the opening sequence is like, you know how Star Wars books tend to be from random characters' perspectives? I'm like, I want to like, it's very, it's like really mature and stuff. And so for me, I want to latch on to a specific main character POV right now. Yeah. And so it's been hard for me to get through the opening page and see like chapter or whatever. Honestly, just because it's like random person.
Honestly, Star Wars books, I have to read along with an audiobook. I know that feels elementary, but to me, I get so much more out of it emotionally and like, there's a word, it starts with a C that I'm thinking of.
My brain's not on today.
Not cognitive, it's like...
Concentrating?
No, it's like understanding the story of the book. What's that word called?
Comprehension.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, I knew it was there. I'm like, what word? But yeah, like I feel like my comprehension is like triples when I listen and read at the same time. Right. But honestly, I did see a lady that she was like a scientific lady, and she made the comment that when we read in our head, we're skipping all of those extra little words, like those filler words, but we still understand what's going on. We're just skipping that little in between bits. But when you're listening to something like an audiobook that's read grammatically correct as it's written, and if it's grammatically correct when you're reading it, and you're hearing it being read, you're reading every part of the word, so it's actually way better for your brain when you do that. And I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, that's why it's a good editing technique to either read your book
Ooh,
out loud or use the listen to feature,
yeah.
because when you're editing, you'll do the same thing. You'll space out. And so that's why you
Mm-hmm.
can have a book that's edited 6 or 7 times and still
Yeah.
miss something on the 8th round because your brain spaced out. So it's like reading the book out loud really helps.
Speaking of audiobooks, I was like scouring through Google to see about like where I could get like the audiobook version of this, if I could get Slaying Vampire Conqueror, and I was kind of looking around,
Yeah.
and somebody on Reddit posted this, and I didn't realize this, but apparently if you have Kindle Unlimited and you have Alexa, which is just like an app that you can download on your phone for free, and you create an account, Alexa will read. If you have Audible Unlimited, apparently you can go into the settings and turn on one of the like assistive settings, and it will read your book to you. She said it's not, they said it's not as good as like the professional audiobooks that you'll get, but if you're needing something read to you, that's an option.
That's an interesting thing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know I had gotten the dramatized audiobook for this one, and it was skipping so many passages that it wasn't like descriptive. It was like intuition kind of thought paragraphs. And I just got so frustrated with it that I stopped, and I was able to get my credit back. So I have a credit on Audible right now, but I've canceled I was like, oh, I wasted money that I don't have for this. And I'm like, I should not have done that. So it's like a regret buy, but I'm saving it for something that I want, like that's going to be an audiobook I'm going to listen to the whole thing with, but I just don't know what that is yet.
Yeah. Do you have Spotify Premium?
Yes.
Okay. One thing that you might want to save your credit for, Crescent City. I think their dramatized audio, they have the part 1 of the dramatized audio on Spotify, but they don't have part 2. So that might be something that you could, if you ever want to read that one, you get part 1, the dramatized audio for part 1 of Crescent City Book 1, but you don't get part 2. So that, I mean, in the future, now it's included with premium, whatever. But I think it's one of those things that if you listen to the audiobook all the way through, you run out of your time for the month. And I think that's what happened with me, is both of them are included with premium. I just ran out of listening hours, if that made sense. Yeah. But that might be something to think about, like one of like that, honestly, or one of the
really
Throne of Glass series.
Audiobook can get me into the books. That's what got me into Court of Silver Flames, was because the dramatized audiobook was just so good. So I feel like I have high hopes and expectations for Crescent City, and so that could be another option to get out of a reading slump too. But there's a lot of different possibilities. Yeah, I may have to do another one of those things where it's like I read and I say which one kind of interests me the most, because I'm just like, I just don't know if this is going to get any better. It's kind of like one of those things where I wanted to read it because it was like a mainstream book and everybody was reading it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like,
I get that.
That's kind of good motivation sometimes, but also kind of not.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
But, all right. So one of the big things that I know you and I talked about privately last night was the situation with Carissa Broadbent, which I did save. I thought I had saved her post and a few others to my...
It was like her War of Lost Hearts series. It's like Daughter of No Worlds is book 1. And she recently announced that she was doing like new covers for them, like rebranding and like doing new covers of the books, and kind of getting rid of like the indie style covers that she had. And the initial release of it, there was so many hate comments. Like, not, okay, when I say hate comments, I mean this was like people giving their opinion, saying it was horrible and awful and they hated it. They were glad they had the original covers, but they weren't, it was like different. Like, constructive criticism is always important, especially with readers, authors, and I'm sure you could agree with that too. Like, constructive criticism is super important, and getting feedback is super important, but readers need to understand where you cross the line from constructive criticism to bullying and toxicity, because it's so sad. And even at one point when I showed you that I had you look up the post, and you're like, there are so many negative comments, and I said, I told you, I know there's so many, and it just, and then the next day she posts an up close zooming in on specific parts of the covers that were her favorite parts, and had this huge long post talking about how she was so excited. Keyword was, and that kind of broke my heart a little bit. Yeah. It's like, congratulations, you took the joy out of this release from this author. Hope you guys are happy with yourselves. Anyway, I'm slightly bitter.
And the thing is, she was like explaining the cover and like how it represents different things. And I remember one line she said, "I feel like these new covers captured the heart and soul of the series." That was a direct quote from the author that I read. And if you go back to the other comments on the other ones, a lot of the readers were commenting, "I don't think this gives me the vibes of the series, and this doesn't capture the essence of the character." And it's like, how could you possibly know a story in a series better than its own author? He thinks these covers capture the essence, then they do. No question asked.
Okay, if I like, and that post that you're talking about, there's something specific that she makes a specific comment. She's like, while perfectly capturing my vision for the soul of the series.
Yes, that's
my vision, not the reader's vision. Yeah, and people like all these people that have this whole like I'm so important attitude, and it's like I make or break your career. No, you don't. Yeah. Get over yourself.
There's this toxic behavior,
and it's
like, I was scrolling through Callie Hart with her Quicksilver situation, and she actually changed the covers to satisfy the readers, and now they're not satisfied with those covers either. And there seems to be this new mentality going around that I'm the reader, I am your book sales, and therefore my opinion matters more than your own as the author, and you have to do what I want. And that's the like toxic behavior that I'm seeing from a lot of these like and I'm not dissing any readers because like I'm friends with a lot of readers, like it just these particular readers with these particular authors.
The ones I'm seeing in comments, I'm most definitely dissing on them because they are the scum of the earth. Anyway,
yes,
I say what I say. I am like from the perspective, I'm a reader, but I have family that's writers and like a writer, and it's like you are my writer person. And it's like, and I see how many times you go through like criticism after criticism, like looking at, but the people that you post on like your Facebook groups, they give you legit feedback, like actual feedback that helps you. I'm sorry, if I go to the comments here and it's like, I'm just going to read one. Just going to read it if I can get to it. I don't like them. Sorry. I'm really disappointed. What the crap does that mean? How is that going to help her at all? I'm sorry. That's not helpful. It's not. Yeah. And then there's someone that's like, let's see. And then there's some people that like, okay, there's a lot more positive ones than what there were. Because there's like, every detail is just mind-blowing. I can't imagine how long this must have taken, but it's done with such love and care. Bravo to the true Black Tarot, which is the person that created the covers. And they're like, oh my lord, this artwork is incredible, absolutely perfect for this epic and gorgeous and epically gorgeous trilogy. So there's a lot more positive responses now
than we saw last night.
Yeah, but it was like, it says, every time I see them, my heart grows 3 sizes. Okay, I am simmering down now because the positive book community is finally here to drown out the negativity. And it's like, because it's just like, there's not certain posts, and I was going to see if I could try to find it, but I can't. And I don't want to, I'm done reading comments because those are not good for you either to do that. But there was some comments that made the comment that I'm tired and my words aren't making sense. Comment that made a comment. There's one Instagrammer that made the comment that they felt that the color of the people, like the white marbly look, made them think Greek gods, and that wasn't what the series was about. Those comments are okay. Those are helpful. Mm-hmm. They're giving her specific details that they felt took away from the series. That's okay.
Which, if you look at the original cover, she's wearing a red dress. She's got white skin, and the sword is gold, and the color scheme matches the new cover perfectly. They kept the same color scheme, which is important.
Exactly.
And I was talking to my husband about it last night, and I had the same thought when we were talking about it, and how, for me, when I see statues, I think ancient Rome, not ancient Greece, because ancient Rome had statues too.
Yeah, that's
So
what
it's
I
like
think.
everybody can think about what they want when they see
Yeah.
statues, but it's like it's not just ancient Greece.
No.
So that was also kind of like a
Yeah.
random, like,
Yeah.
I get that gives somebody else the vibe, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's between that and the Kelly Hart situation, because it's like I loved Quicksilver. I read it from the cover. I've mentioned that before, and now book 2 is not going to have a cover that matches the Quicksilver cover that I have, and like, so you're gonna have to mix match basically. And it's like, and now there's still people who are not happy with the way that she changed it, and so, and I feel really
And the other,
bad for like authors getting
yeah.
bullied by these readers who think that they have to obey this just because they're your primary like income
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I had wanted to bring up as a
And
topic.
it's just like, it's just people making nonsense comments that aren't helpful at all, thinking that their one comment is going to make the difference and it's going to cause her to say, you know what, never mind, I'm going to stick with my original covers. I'm going to pay this guy, I'm going to be out a bunch of money, and it'll be fine, because this one person on Instagram said that they didn't like it and they were disappointed.
Well, a lot of it too is the bravery behind a keyboard and a computer screen, because if you were at an event, you wouldn't be going up to the author saying that about an author's cover face to face. I guarantee you, you're too cowardly. Those people are too cowardly to do that. Not that that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Something else that was slightly disappointing, everyone on Book Talk and Bookstagram and everything was thinking that Sarah J. Maas was going to announce the next book today, because it was like the 10th anniversary, I think, of ACOTAR. And a lot of people are disappointed and upset. Like, if you go to Bloomsbury, all they did was post a reel of a bunch of different book readers talking about ACOTAR. And, yeah, that's all they posted. And a lot of people were commenting on it and be like, how disappointed they were. And I'm like, again,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've seen a reel that I saved of the guy I like watching, mentioning it and saying that, like, will they? I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out, kind of, because I guess he did it earlier in the day. Yeah. And so I was like, I gotta save that in case news comes out. I wanted to, like, report on it. And,
I have been looking at both Sarah's Instagram and Bloomsbury's Instagram and radio silence. And I'm like, except for the one post that Bloomsbury made.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I get disappointed anytime I see it. I'm gonna look at her tagged. Yeah, no, okay.
I'm trying to sign into Threads real quick because I had a couple on there that I wanted to talk about.
I wanted ACOTAR 6.
Me too.
I wanted an announcement today.
I know, I need something. Maybe she's just not ready, I guess, or something. I have no idea.
I don't know.
Well, one of the other things that I wanted to mention that is Star Wars related, but it'll connect to readership thing here in a minute. So I saw this funny, I think it was like a reel or whatever on Instagram, and I'm getting a lot of Star Wars reels because of episode 3, and it's so fun. But I've seen a post of somebody mentioning how they're trying to get their romantasy book friends to, like, get into Star Wars episode 3 and, like, Anakin and his story. And it brought up an interesting topic that, like, he was the first, not really shadow daddy because he doesn't have shadow powers, but, like, that trope of, like, a romantasy male character in a romance. And I'm like, dude, Anakin started it all for us. Like, how did I never see this?
Oh my god!
Like, it is literally like Anakin, Rhysand, Zayden, all of our romance dudes, and it's like, yes,
it
like
all started with him.
It all started with him, and I was just like kind of excited, honestly, because I was like, I never picked up on that, and so I wanted to bring that up to you because it was just like an interesting.
I love that.
An interesting thing. Yeah. So I saved. I don't know on Threads how to find your saved posts. It doesn't make any sense.
Is it under your profile?
Okay. I don't know. I was looking, but I can't find it.
I haven't really.
Did you have anything else to talk about while I'm looking for this?
I have been saving a lot of, like, Throne of Glass angsty edits this evening, and...
Oh, okay, cool.
They're so angsty. Like, and plus there's, like, clips from the audiobook but it's like sad points in the audiobook and people are putting music behind it, and I'm just like, oh my god.
So in other words, I need to go ahead and read
and it's
Assassin's
funny,
Blade and get going.
yeah, well, like, and it was kind of funny is that I saw a video that was like asking, like, people had asked them before, it was like, should we read ACOTAR first, or should you read Throne of Glass first, and they're like, well, do you want a happy ending with some battles? Do you want a happy ending with some battles? Or do you want angst, crying, screaming, more crying, more angst, and pain? And I'm like, accurate. Yeah.
Kind of what I'm looking for right now. So after like going into that fantasy, like, oh, I got a guy in prison and a sword, and she's found him, and she's got all this politics, and I was so excited, and it was a comedy. I was like, that was not what I was expecting. I like needed.
I'm glad you told me it was a comedy, because that's what I was getting ready to start reading. Or I almost put that in my TBR for this month, and I'm glad you told me about that one, because I will eventually read it. It sounds interesting,
Me
but
too. I'm gonna read it with Assistant to the Villain, because they both kind of have that fantasy comedy vibe, and I'm like, that's definitely a mood. It's just not my mood. I need angst, and I need crying and tears and screaming and like dark, gritty stuff. That's what I need, you know?
That's fair.
So, but real quick, I'd finally found the post on like me slowly convincing all my romantic besties to watch and fall in love with Star Wars with this, and it had the quote like, "I will do whatever you ask, just help me save Padme's life. I can't live without her." I was like, out of context. If you could see that in a romantasy somewhere, like a romantic sci-fi, like I don't know what the sci-fi.
And if you go back into like the animated Clone Wars series, like Anakin was definitely like the touch her and die trope. And it's like, I'm totally here for it.
It's been like chokes Clovis out.
Yes.
And she's,
oh
like,
my god.
Out, like, what are you doing, Anakin?
Yeah.
And like the fact that he, like the council sending Ahsoka away, and like that whole side story and the tragic backstory, like you think about it, he was a slave. I'm like, he fits right in with Zayden and Reese.
Okay,
he just doesn't have shadow magic.
Can we really kind of side note branching off of that again? I saw this, like, I've been seeing some edit, like for Star Wars Day on Sunday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Anyway, I was seeing some edits of just like the Skywalker family in general. Can we talk about how good George Lucas's casting was when he casted Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman to be their parents? Because the way he casted them, like literally, and it's funny because Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher are significantly older, but the way he casted the parents to mimic, and they look so similar when you compare them, like the way they interact, the way they act in the movies, especially like Luke and Leia do. But then when you see the prequels, you see Padme and Anakin doing like similar things or acting similar ways, and it was like, you know, for a fact that was all his directing and like the script, and it's like, oh how Hollywood has fallen.
It's like, oh, he's not a good director, and it's like,
oh my god,
really, like, oh yes, he is. Like, that's so.
Such a good.
I actually picked up on how much Mark Hamill looks kind of similar, almost similar to like Natalie Portman's face, especially.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh. And it was just kind of like, I never thought about it in depth before, but that was pretty cool. So, okay, I think I've got all that topic covered. So yeah, I had an article that was like, everything Sarah J. Maas has said so far about book 6, but apparently there's nothing new. So I was like only reading this article because I thought it was going to have some new news.
I know. I'm still sad about that. I think a lot of people some people are like, I give up 2 hours ago. Yeah. Yeah, at this point in the day. And I'm sure those people have already hit midnight, so they're like, you know what? It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Apparently, though, she has signed a 4-book deal in addition to the pre-existing 3 for Crescent City. So that means that the Crescent City series is going to be at least 7 books right now. Oh my
god, dude.
Oh. Yeah. She's really excited about the next book after the 3rd one. So she's excited for the 4th Crescent City book.
So she has 4 more books in that series, planned out?
Yeah, she made, it's like an agreement.
Like signed, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, it's happening. Like, you know, because it's a contract.
Okay, and that's where it's like, I
I'm
can't
very
help but
excited.
wonder, like, does she have, like, a tentative, like, timeline planned out for the series then? Enough to where she feels confident enough to sign a deal for 4 more books? Or is it where she is signing for 4 more books, so now she has to extend the story out 4 more books? Like, how would that work as an author? Would you, like...
Either one. I wouldn't feel comfortable because I'm the kind of person, I'm not publishing anything until I get the whole series done. But not
fair.
every author writes like that. So a lot of authors will do it if they have a vague idea. Typically, what I assume with her and a lot of mainstream ones, it'll be like she maybe has the next book figured out and she knows that there's potential for like 2 more. So, you know, it's like potential. Now, it depends on, like, every author is different, so it could go either way, where you sign a contract and now you've got to squeeze out 4 more books and come up with something, which would stress me. Like, that, like, the top level stress for me is like, oh my God, you've got to have at least 4 more books in the series. You have no choice, and I don't have a plot. I'm not inspired, and now I can't write the book, and I'm a failure. Like, that is, like, big nightmare for me. But like some other authors may work that way, but so it kind of depends on her and her publisher and how they work together. So I'd be interested to know.
I know, that's what I'm like.
I want to interview all of these mainstream authors because I want to know.
Yeah, I just wish like it was easy for me to travel to a different state where they have like these author book signing and interview events. Because that would solve all our problems.
Yeah. So at one point in an interview, she said this is way back before Silver Flames came out, but she said the Castian and Nesta book is next, referring to Court of Silver Flames. And I know what I want to write for the second spin-off novel, but I'm keeping the door open after that.
My theory, you want to know my theory? Theory, there's been things in Crescent City and like things, especially Throne of Glass, like there are connections that connect things back to ACOTAR and the other 2 books. It's not like, I know, you know, it's just like little things that you're like, that's most definitely what that is. But, like, I think the next spin-off novel is going to be connecting at least one of the other series to this.
I would love that, like a crossover, like that would be epic,
like a multiverse
which is
type
why,
of
like,
thing. Like that's what I want, and
very
that's what she's hinting it at.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's going to be 4 more books in the Crescent City series is like huge, because I mean, and
so in ACOTAR there's
like
5, so we're waiting on number 6, right?
Yeah, like Throne of Glass has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Throne of Glass has 8 if you include Assassin's Blade.
That would almost be equivalent to the same size as ACOTAR, what we think ACOTAR is, essentially.
So have they announced how many more books are going to be in the ACOTAR series?
No, as far as I know, there hasn't been any news on it. But
yeah, so like if there's 7, 5, so like I could say at least 1 or 2 more books in the ACOTAR series to make 7. And then if there's 7 in I mean, that makes sense for like the length of, you know, because I don't know if you would.
Yeah, she wants to keep it to 8, so like that. I know, like.
But but that's where the question of like people don't always count Throne of Glass as book 1, so it's like a collection of short stories that take place before the series. So it's like
Assassin's Blade.
So it's like technically they would be 7, but then an 8th if you count Assassin's Blade.
Kind of like the Court of Frost and Starlight one, but like Assassin's Blade's bigger. Like, so it's like that one's kind of counted but not counted too, so I kind of understand that.
Yeah, like Frost and Starlight seems like 2 of the stories that you would get, and like 2 or 3 of the stories that you would get in like Assassin's Blade, like at least 1, like at least 2 of them. But
I could knock them down pretty quick then, so that kind of makes me excited.
Yeah,
I'm kind of slowly inching more toward to quote Tigger, DNFing for now.
Yeah.
It's like TTFN, Tata for now is like DNFFN, I think. I'm like too tired of a brain to try to quote Tigger and tweak it with like reading.
Yeah.
That needs to be a meme. I need to make a meme.
Yeah, that's funny.
So a couple of other random book topics that I kind of like am loosely associated with, but not so much you. Outlander is a TV series that I like to watch that I haven't read the books yet. I do have book 1. I just haven't gotten around to reading it. I read the ending. If you know, you know. And so I purposefully read the ending of the book because I wanted to see how it differed from the TV show. But I intend to read the whole book at some point or another. It's historical romance, and I'm not in the mood for that. But it's having a prequel series where it's about the main guy character, Jamie, his parents, called Outlander Blood of My Blood. And so it's kind of like everything we know about that series that I haven't heard any news about for a while. And like, I think Outlander's getting ready to do its final season. So we're all like, oh my God, it's going to end. What are we going to do with our lives? This is insane. This can't be over. Like, I have got the most anxiety about this show ending just because I don't know how to function without Outlander coming out at least once a year. So that'll be a nice thing to kind of transition to.
Yeah, I understand that.
So okay, it'll view the parents of Jamie, Fraser, and actually Claire's parents. So the action will be split between England during World War I, which obviously would be Claire's parents because she's from World War II era.
Yeah.
And the Scottish Highlands during the 18th century.
Oh.
So obviously Outlander was based on her series of novels. So Blood of My Blood is charting to new territory by chronicling. I don't know why I can't talk. Detailing the relationships that are referred to in the books. So you might have questions we have answered. It's not what I was thinking it was. So basically it's like, I think she gave them kind of a story treatment, kind of about how the parents on both sides, like the storylines and stuff. And obviously we heard some stuff from Jamie about the struggles that his parents went through and stuff. So it'll be about Jamie's parents, Brian Fraser and Ellen Mackenzie, and Claire's parents, Julia Morstan and Henry Beecham. The series will center on these two parallel love stories set in 2 different time periods. Obviously, Jamie's is going to be 18th century Scottish Highlands, and Claire's is going to be World War I, England.
So is this like a TV show or a book?
TV show. But it's based on the TV show that was based on the book series, and the authors kind of told them how they're supposed to meet, like in her headcanon, I think.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So I'm actually really excited for it, genuinely. And I don't know if she actually plans to, like write a prequel series about them. I thought I'd read somewhere that she did, so I don't know if that's going to be the thing. Yeah. So my as far as we know, though, no cast from like the Outlander TV series is going to be in it yet. But that was just one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So, and there's another one about the Game of Thrones book again, because everybody's like, when is he going to finish The Winds of Winter? So I've got another one about that. So what was some of your next? Did you have any more?
No. I just wing it most of the time.
Yeah. I am such a prep person. All right, so Winds of Winter speculation. It's kind of like one of those everything we know about that book because the author's taken forever. So basically, okay, they're summarizing everything. So no release date. He's been very late. 13 years late at this point, in fact. That was the way they worded it. It was really funny. He's adamant that he's going to finish the novel one day, and a fair bit of information about the installment in the series has been released over the years. The release date, speculation, we don't know. Winds of Winter was intended to be published relatively soon after the 5th volume of A Song of Ice and Fire, A Dance of Dragons, and while the Game of Thrones TV show was still in production. So in 2011, he told The Guardian that the novel would take at least another 3 years to complete, adding, "I hope it doesn't take me 6 years like the last one has." So that was in 2011, so that would have put it at 2018 or so thereabouts. Has provided sporadic updates, even shared chapters from the novel with fans, but there's no sign of when or if the book will be completed. So Dance of Dragons ended with several major cliffhangers, which I was like, when in the timeline is this taken place? So spoiler alerts for Game of Thrones if you haven't seen the show. At this point, it's been out for a while, or read the books, which again have obviously clearly been out for a while if he's been writing book 6 for 13 years. It ended with the death of Jon Snow at the end of Dance with Dragons. So, like, that was a huge cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious to see if the TV show and what they did with that is going to be what he decided to do with that and the resolution of that problem, because he's one of the major characters.
Yeah.
So cliffhangers will be resolved very early in the book. It'll be open with 2 big battles that he was building up to, the battle at Meereen and the battle of Slaver's Bay, and then it'll take from there. So the Slaver's Bay battle will see Daenerys Targaryen fight a coalition of slavers who want to seize back control of Meereen. And then it'll be another battle with Stannis Baratheon on Roose Bolton's army, which, I don't know, some of those are sounding vaguely familiar. But essentially, the next book will include the resolution to the betrayal of Jon Snow when he was killed. Because he was murdered by his fellow Night Watchman, and that was, like, the worst thing that... Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And then Tyrion at the Siege of Meereen. I remember that was one of the scenes in the TV show where it was, like, Tyrion's supposed to be this really strategic, super smart guy, and because they had gone ahead of George R.R. Martin, and they did it without him, the showrunners wrote Tyrion like an idiot. Like, his strategies for that battle, the Battle of Siege of Meereen, was, like, so stupid, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that one, but I thought there was one where it was like, what are you doing? And, like, it was clear that they didn't know how to write Tyrion the way that George did.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if the battle outcomes and, like, if any of those details are going to be different. And then... This is interesting. Martin says that the Winds of Winter will venture further north than the previous novels, revealing in an interview what really lies north in my books. We haven't explored that yet, but we will in the last 2 books, and that we're definitely going to see more of the others, which is the White Walkers.
Yeah.
That are called White Walkers in the TV show. So again, a lot of these things, it's like an interesting topic to talk on, because it's like, what's he going to do differently than the TV show? And it's like, there's so much that, because I didn't realize that was the last season that they had a book for.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, now you've got the resolution of Jon Snow's situation. There's that whole plot hole where they went up into the north and, like, revealed what was going on up there. Whole situation with the White Walkers. Like,
what he'll end up doing is just decanonizing the TV show. That's what it'll do.
Kind of seems fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because, like, honestly, like, if you are making a TV show based off of a book, and you continue with the TV show without the book series, and the book series is finally completed, then the book series is canon, because that's what you base the show off of initially. So it's like, if you chose to vary off of that, and yeah, I mean, that's honestly, as a fan, like, I can see why, if, like, for fans, I could see why they would be really excited for the book and, like, frustrated that he hasn't released it yet. Honestly, it sounds like writing is more of, like, a hobby that he does when he has free time. Like, it doesn't sound like he's writing, like, as a writer, like, to finish the book. It sounds like it's like a project of his that he's writing when he has the chance.
Yeah. And I know that, like, he's talked, and, like, I would love to interview him about his writing process, because he's talked about how, like, there's this one scene where there's the Red Wedding, if you know, you know, and it's this really sad, like, one of the saddest scenes in history, books, movies, TV shows, like, you name it. It's the saddest scene that you've ever known. And he actually skipped that and wrote the aftermath of that scene, and he wrote that in the book last. And it's like, for me, I can understand that, because sometimes you have emotionally trying scenes that are, like, really heavy, and I've found his process really interesting to hear about, and how he's had a lot of debates with, like, Stephen King, where, like, I don't read Stephen King, I'm not a horror fan, but Stephen King writes a lot, and he writes really quickly from what I know, and so they've teased each other back and forth about how fast Stephen King is versus how he's
and there's
not.
Like that,
and it kind of reminds me of the friendship between Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, honestly, kind of in a weird way.
It reminds me of that author Danielle Steele. Like, she has a ridiculous number of books, like over like 140 novels. Like, yeah, she's written 190 books, including over 140 novels, and has had a bestseller list of 300 and on the bestseller list for 381 consecutive weeks. And it's like, anytime you go to, like, a thrift store, you're gonna see at least 5 of her books. And it's like, she reminds me of another one of those people that just write and write and write, like Stephen King. And it's like she writes and writes and
Mhm.
writes. I think she writes more of like mystery type novels, like romance or mystery type um,
Yeah.
historical
It was like
novels.
when I
Yeah,
was looking up
yeah, huh?
It was like when I was looking up Susan Stoker, she's military romantic suspense, and I was shocked at the number of books that she had. And I was like, I think I actually showed you in the Kindle, you could just scroll and keep
Yeah,
scrolling on the page that it listed out her books. And I was like,
uh
it
huh,
shocked me how much she had written. So
yeah.
it makes me feel not as bad for having a lot of books.
That's
So another thing that I had was apparently the Kindles got a noteworthy free upgrade from Amazon. Check the settings now. I don't know if this is going to be epic or not, so we'll just see I was just curious to see what it was. Um, okay, the high-end Kindle Scribe, largest version of Amazon ebook device, offers stylus in the box to write notes in the books or create entire digital notebooks for you to organize your personal and work life in. Um, from the 2022 Kindle Scribe, or if you have the newest version, which is 2024. Both models received a free software update that promises to improve the notebook summarization. The feature includes AI.
mm,
Okay, I didn't know that's where this was going. To read your handwritten notes in your digital notebooks on the Scribe and then summarize them in shorter form.
yeah.
Okay, I don't care. Just read your own dang notes. Never mind.
What is with AI? Like literally,
I don't know.
Duolingo posted that they fired a bunch of their workers to go AI, go almost full AI, and it's like people will have like there's just one girl, I guess, that she had like a 5 year streak that she lost because she deleted the app. Like it's just
See,
they
that's
they
where
fired they
my
fired
thing
so many
was
people
stronger.
though just so they could go
Yeah.
full AI. And I'm like
Yeah, I know.
I
I don't
I still
understand.
have the app, but I'm no longer paying for a subscription. I won't do it
Yeah,
anymore.
I haven't been doing that anyway because I can't afford it, but I kind of just do the bare minimum anyway.
Mhm.
But the thing that I don't understand is like I don't understand why. Like in
Yeah.
certain situations I get how it can make life easier, like, just taking notes or I don't know, whatever. But like for companies to do it in like a way that like
Mhm.
actually hurts people where they're being
Yeah.
fired from jobs that like a human honestly can and should do and does do better in those, because
Yeah.
you're learning a language, and real humans will teach you how to speak a whole lot better than like
Yeah.
AI. I don't know if that's where they're using the AI. Like I
Honestly,
want to know where and how they're using the AI,
I
and
feel
who was
like
fired and like
I feel
stuff.
like AI now is what machines were back in the day. Like you had used to have like factories where actual people would build things, like build cars and stuff like that, and now they're all
Yeah.
automated machines that do it. I feel like AI is slowly doing what machines did then.
Hmm.
And people say
Which,
history's not important. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, not to get on a historical rant, but I'm pretty sure obviously the Civil War was fought over slavery in the South, but I thought I remembered that there were more issues than just slavery that was going on. And maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was a lot of like the initial industrial style stuff that was
mhm,
like the North had a lot of that stuff. So they
yeah,
had other forms of income. And then the primary one in
mhm,
the South was obviously the plantations, the slavery. And
yeah,
so it was kind of like underneath slavery was kind of like associated with that. And it's
mhm,
an interesting thing because, again, like that caused a huge civil war in America, which
yeah,
obviously I'm glad we won and freed slavery and all that,
yeah,
or got rid of slavery.
yeah,
But it's like, yeah, I was kind of like, my brain has thought of that too in this whole AI debate, where you have
yeah,
inventions in the past where now they're a part of life and we don't think anything of them, but at the time people were like protesting and hating them and
yeah,
like, were scared that they would replace humans, and eventually they got accepted and everything was okay. But it's
mhm,
kind of like we're in that transitional stage now, and it just kind of like it's interesting to see
yeah,
how where it's going to settle, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like,
I think it's gonna
but
continue. They're gonna continue to push into it until people eventually will just give up complaining about it. Like I can. That's what honestly. It seems like a very negative, very
like
pessimistic
a grim
view,
acceptance.
but
Yeah.
like a forced acceptance is what's going to end up happening. It's going to continue to be included. Businesses are going, companies are still going to ignore the fact that people are protesting and like deleting their app and not using their stuff. They are rich enough that it's not going to make a huge dent. I
Yeah.
I
And
don't
it's
know.
like you have all those people who like teach classes about how to make money and how to sell books to make money. And a lot of those coach style people will tell you now they've actually gotten to where they get the AI, they have the AI write the whole book, do the whole cover, they pick a topic in a nonfiction area, like a nonfiction topic basically, and then you come up with a title where it says what the title is, like how to cook vegetables, for example, and like the title has all the keywords in there, so your book gets seen and so people buy it, and so you make thousands of dollars on a book that you didn't even research the topic or write it yourself. It's
Yeah.
all AI. And then now they're taking it a
Yeah.
step further with the new AI voiceovers where you can now
Yes.
make that an audiobook
Uh-huh.
and make even more money from that,
Yeah.
where it's like, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, and
Yeah.
those kind of people make me mad because then you're not even like
Trying. Yeah.
trying, like, you know, it's not even like, if you, to me it's like if you use it a little bit in your brainstorming creative process, that's whatever. Like the final book needs to not have any AI in it, and I as an editor will actually edit that out, like and I'm
Yeah.
not going to braid, but I've had this huge debate with another author friend of mine where she as an editor was like, I will not edit your book if you use any AI in it at all. I'm like, it's more important to teach them why it's wrong and show them how to write it the right way themselves than just to write them off completely just because they used it for whatever. Because a lot of people, like most people, do not actually finish a story that they write. So
Yeah.
I'm like, in my head, if you use it to help you finish it, that's fine. Just do not make that the final version of your book, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So obviously being in a reading slump, I always love articles that like give alternate and suggestions and stuff like that. And we found some good books to add to our wish lists and stuff on Amazon that way a few times. So this one is like, again, Fourth Wing is great, but these 10 recent romantasy books are just as good as Fourth Wing. So that's the claim. So number 10 is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. So that seems a fair assessment. We know what that one is.
Uh-huh.
9 is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Kirelli. I can't, her name is Kristen, okay, and her last name starts with C. I've actually seen this book cover around before, and it's the Crimson Moth book 1, and it's like witches and stuff like that, so, and it's just as easy to fall in love with as Fourth Wing. She's navigates as being a witch in a world that's like persecutes her kind. She's trying to help other witches under like a persona, and she gets the attention of one of the best witch hunters around, Gideon Sharp, who I assume is the main guy. So that one's kind of interesting. Like I haven't read a witch style fantasy. So number 8 is Feybound by Sarah L. Afrifi, and it's came out in 2024. That last one actually came out in 2024 as well. So these are like relatively new. And this one's called Feybound. If you enjoy the Dragon Rider bonds in Fourth Wing, you'll find a good replacement in this book. Feybound is told in the perspective of 2 different sisters, so it's like goes back and forth between them. And it's set in a world where the elven lands are in a never-ending war. They've lost a lot of history, including the true accounts of what happened to the Fae. She's sent into exile, and she has to contend with a world that's different than what she believed existed.
Yeah.
So, and then Cursebound hit shelves in February of 2025. So book 2 is now out.
Yeah.
So number 7 is 5 Broken Blades by Mai Cortland, and I actually have this on my TBR shelf, so I just haven't picked it up because it seemed like a very different genre than what romantasy is, but if this is listed as romantasy, then maybe I'm going to check it out. So it actually hails from the same publishers as Fourth Wing. Why did I not know this? Like, I should have read this. It's like one of those things, like there's a meme about that one book that sits on your shelf forever and you finally read it and it's amazing and you're like, I'm sorry I didn't read you sooner. I feel like this is going to be one of those books. It's a multi-POV romantasy book that sees a group of dangerous outcasts coming together to kill the king. And it's a fast-paced and twisty ride, plenty of secrets, and there's a good deal of romance as well. So I didn't know there was romance. I have not read this book because I thought it was more of like a strict fantasy without a romance in it. Now I know there's a romance in it. I am like, that's moving up on my TBR list, I can tell you that much.
Yep.
She has some morally gray characters, and Yeah, it actually sounds really good. Okay. Number 6 is another one I've heard of called One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. And it came out in 2022. I always thought this was more of a gothic kind of fantasy. The first book, it's the first book in the Shepherd King duology. It boasts one of the most unique world and magic systems in the Romantasy sphere. It's dark and atmospheric, making it immersive like Fourth Wing, but a very different feel. She's Elsbeth Spindle is on a journey to locate 12 province cards to save the kingdom, grappling with a monster inside of her head. The premise makes her novel distinct from others. It lives up to its fascinating concept, delivering fast-paced, twisty narrative that will keep readers flipping pages. Dynamic between the book's lead and her monster is fascinating, as is the adventure she's thrown into. I've heard a lot of things. I don't know if there's a romance between her and the monster in her head, or like what the whole dynamic is. I've heard a lot of people talk about that and how it's like her and the monster in her head is different, which interesting. Which could kind of have like a fantasy version of like DID, not like real strict DID, but like a kind of a fantasy vibe with that like could kind of vibe with me a little bit. So number 5 is Immortal Dark by Tigrist Garma, which honestly the name Tigrist for an author name is really cool. The cover is interesting on that one. Immortal Dark blends romantasy and horror, which makes sense because the cover looks interesting. It's Dark Academia novel steeped in vampire lore, offers readers a true enemies to lovers dynamic, morally gray characters who would generally test them. Kaiden, a Danish, she infiltrates an elite university to track down the vampire who took her sister. At high stakes, female rage, gripping fantasy, and romantic subplots. So the Hurricane Wars from 2023 by Thea Guanzin is actually on my current TBR list for this month. So I thought about reading it. It's an enemies to lovers romantasy that packs a powerful punch. Rich fantasy world ravaged by the conflict which sees the Night Emperor laying siege to its heroine's home. And Talzin possesses light magic that can turn the tides of her people, though she keeps it to herself until the Emperor's son, Prince Alaric, learns of her ability. They enter uncharted territory, hoping they can change the future of the Hurricane Wars. It actually has magical qualities reminiscent of the Shadow and Bone series. So that one's on my TBR list for this month. So I have most of these. I'm so excited. All right, we're almost done. Number 3, Powerless, by Lauren Roberts, which is the one that we talked about that was similar to Red Queen. So both of those are on my TBR shelf. I want to read Red Queen first and then read Powerless to compare it, so I have to be ready to do the comparison.
They had a buy one get one free book fair thing at the school in the spring, and for 2 days, May 1st and 2nd. And so that Powerless was one of them that they had on there, and I was even sort of surprised to see it because it was labeled 14 and up, but they put it in. They chose it's not the school; it's the Scholastic that chose to put it with a middle school book fair, and I'm like, okay, all right,
it's clean.
Is it? Okay, cool.
It's 100%.
Oh, cool. That makes me feel a lot better then.
Old school YA.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that makes me feel a lot better then, because I was thinking more of newer idea of YA, and I'm like, okay, are we sure?
I was worried about that.
Yeah, okay, that makes me feel a lot better.
A few of Christian Christian book reader people that prefer the squeaky clean kind of Christian books. Read and love that series.
Okay, cool.
So, one of them actually said there's a fade to black scene at the very last book. So, if that tells you anything. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. So,
sweet.
I probably need to read that at some point too. So, number 2, again, is another one I've got on my TBR. And basically, this is just confirming that I just need to start reading through my TBR list, which is the whole point of this entire podcast.
That's
so,
funny.
all right, I get it. I should be reading. I got that.
That's funny.
Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. So, obviously, that one I gotta wait to be in a comedy mood. So, it's actually, again, another book from the Fourth Wing publisher.
Maybe we just need to scroll through their publisher page. Maybe we just need to do that.
Basically. Yeah. It follows the perky and upbeat Evie Sage as she becomes the assistant of a supervillain. With a comical premise, it's no surprise that the novel is humorous and fun to fly through. So number 1 on this list is actually called Direbound, and it came out in 2025, so it's a brand new book.
Oh.
It's one of the latest releases. It's set in a world of elite warriors that form bonds with dire wolves. I'm in. That's all I needed to know. Oh my god. Okay. I'm in. Sign me up. Connections that feel incredibly reminiscent of Fourth Wing's Dragon Rider relationship. Its lead, Marin Cooper, strives to become one of these warriors after joining the military that took her to look for her kidnapped sister. Her experience in the bonding trials is the reason enough to pick up Direbound. The competition delivers suspenseful, action-packed narrative. The character dynamics, romantasy tropes, and twists also make it as good as Fourth Wing.
Ooh.
And after its ending cliffhanger, the second Wolves of Ruin book, called Furybound, promises to be even better. I did not even hear about that one, so that one is going on my wish list, like, ASAP.
Yeah, okay. So, like, Fury, is it Furybound? Is that how that is? Okay.
Direbound.
No, Direbound's book 1, and then is that Fury?
Yeah,
Furybound. Okay. That's book 2. And there's actually like an
oh shit.
There's actually like an unnamed Direbound book 3 on Goodreads. Expected no 25th of 25, it says 25 November 25. So November of this year?
Is when book 2 is going to come out?
No, like that's what, like they have like book 3. Yeah, so okay. So 30,
Whoa.
okay, so book 2 is the 30th of July 25. And then book 3, which doesn't even have a cover yet or a title, it says November of this year. 25th of November.
Huh.
She must be, is it he or she? That's
Sable Sorensen? I have no idea. Also, I somehow went in full screen mode, and I can't get out of it. I don't know how to get out of full screen mode.
Oh, goodness.
It literally, I am stuck in full screen mode.
Oh, no.
It's actually number 1 in military fantasy right now.
Oh. Yeah, some of the...
I got out of full screen mode, thank God. I still can't click on my screen. I don't know what in the world is happening.
Some of the genre tags on Goodreads are fantasy, romantasy, fantasy romance, romance, enemies to lovers, vampires, magic, adult, werewolves, and wolves. Huh.
Oh.
Let's see. It has a 4.45 out of 5.
Like this since Fourth Wing. Nothing has gripped me like this since Fourth Wing. If you like Fourth Wing and ACOTAR, I would recommend this.
Oh.
Ooh, crying, screaming, throwing up about how much I loved this book. Obsessed, I can't get it out of my head.
Yeah, somebody on Goodreads, they were like, this book was so good in all caps. Holy beep. 6 stars with like 5 or 6 exclamation points. So a lot of, it has 50 of the 8,000 ratings, over almost 9,000 ratings. It's 8,857 ratings. 58% or over 5,000 of them were 5-star. So I feel like she's doing pretty good.
Yeah, on Amazon it's 4.6 stars with 5,000 ratings.
Yeah. And
the covers, oh my god, the covers are gorgeous. And the fact that like they have a similar vibe, but like the first one's like pinkish and the second one's bluish is like
color theme.
And I did see that it's like July and November, so she's rapidly releasing these.
I wonder if she has them written already.
A huge success.
I wonder if she's already have them written like you do.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to still be editing them really fast, but and also it's in Kindle Unlimited, guys. So if you end up getting, like, if you can't afford to keep buying books, a lot of these books that, like, not all of these on this particular list, but a lot of the ones that I want to read recently are in the Kindle Unlimited. So
yeah. Huh.
Yeah. So this is going on my shopping list. I have a shopping list on Amazon instead of a wish list, so that one is absolutely going there.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh, it looks so good. And if it ended on a cliffhanger, we wouldn't have to wait too long to end it because it would just be July when the new book comes out. So that would be another anticipated read. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I see. That's why I love these lists, because like I would not have known about that without that.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I had was just like 12 marvelous science fiction and fantasy books coming out in May, because I have been out of the loop on like what in the world is the next, like what everybody is kind of moving on to after Sunrise on the Reaping. It's like, what is everybody? I know Emily Henry is a like romance author in the, like the contemporary, I don't know if it's like rom-com or contemporary romance, but like her book coming out was big. I think that was April. And I think Abby Jimenez, another romance author, had another big one that came out, but I like that's romance and not in the fantasy genre. So, but so I was gonna scroll through these and just see if there's anything interesting. A lot of these seem more like sci-fi based and stuff coming out. Some of the titles on the new fantasy books, the Grimoire Grammar School Parent Teacher Association. Is literally about a magical school. Like, that's what the book is called.
Can we, like, when you get the chance, look up the Barnes & Noble exclusive of House and Flame and Shadow. Like, it's book 3 in the Crescent City series, but look at this. This cover is like a masterpiece.
Okay.
Oh my god. Yo. And it's a paperback. It's like a paperback. But this cover. My
House of Flame and Shadow?
Goodness, yes.
It looks like normal. Did I hit the wrong one?
It's the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition that's paperback. Oh my god, isn't it good? Isn't it pretty?
My goodness, y'all, go look it up now.
Oh
like,
my
if you don't read the series, still go look at this cover. Like, you have to see this cover.
It's beautiful. Like, it's like a masterpiece.
That's what we want. For a special edition.
Yes! Oh my gosh. Yes.
Please.
Yeah.
Why have we not gotten art? Like, the thing is, I don't live near a Barnes & Noble, so I'm going to have to stick with, when I do get to the series, I have to stick with the regular one. I won't get the pretty one. That's okay. Like, that's okay.
Oh.
Alright, well, I think that's pretty much all I've got. I know after this, we'll probably stay on Discord and help me figure out what I'm reading next.
Yeah.
Do another
liner read. If you can't tell, my eyes are slowly drooping. I am... Okay, our school here, like, at least in her hometown, my hometown, I guess, where I'm still at. But
you still live there.
Yeah, I still live here. But we have a 4-day school week. One thing I really like about it is that it takes away the stigma of, like, Monday being the worst day of the week. And, like, because you can get all of your weekend stuff done, especially if the kids that have, like, games on Saturdays, which happen a lot, like, they still have that extra day to, like, you know, and teachers can spend it to just, like, I finish up my housework. I do... Like, if I need grading at the end of the school year, like, I'll do some of that stuff. But it's like, we used up all of our snow days and all of our AMI days, which are essentially our days where we're at home, but we assign assignments and the kids work on them. So we still have snow days, but we have also additional days that we can use up for those that the state has said that we have so many hours, you know, whatever. But we used up everything, plus a couple extra days when we had a bunch of snow in January and February. So
that was brutal.
Past couple weeks, we've had a Monday makeup days, and I am so tired. We didn't even do a whole lot today. We just did our basic stuff, and it was like, it's just like the adrenaline's gone by the end, like when the last class leaves. My body just kind of like sags, and I'm just like...
exhausted.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's one of those things, it's one of those weird things, like, teachers will get it, but it's so unless you like spend an entire day in a school working with kids, like it's a really hard to explain, but it's one of those things, like, you just go on adrenaline, you just go and go and go and go and go, and then eventually when you know that there's no other class coming in afterwards, you're just kind of like, okay, yeah, we should just...
Yeah, that actually makes
like,
a whole lot of sense.
90% of the time, I make a loaded baked potato at dinner because I have no energy to do anything else. Like, I need to hold off on the potatoes. It's getting bad. Like, part of my weekly groceries is just buying a bag of potatoes. Because I'm like, I could cut them up and make French fries, or I could put it in the microwave, put a little slit in the middle so it doesn't explode. Fun fact. But yeah, I'm getting off on it. It's the time I'm rambling. Okay,
No, it's okay.
We just need to shut me up so we can get off of
No,
here.
it's okay. I actually find it fascinating. So
Oh my god.
that's the thing about being a writer. You want to soak up everything so you can know how to write things properly. But I know with me, like, that was like at the end of the night, it would just be, because it's like 11:30 at night. I don't want to cook anything. I'm tired, you know, after editing and writing all afternoon, evening, whatever. And so that's why I had started McDonald's, because that's the only thing open to like actually go eat. Like,
there was some drama.
There's been some drama. I was getting into that really bad.
There's been some drama with McDonald's because apparently you can go to Outback Steak, I believe it was Outback Steakhouse, and buy their burger for cheaper than you can get a Big Mac. Like, literally, you can go to a steakhouse and get a burger for like $9, and the Big Mac is $10. And then McDonald's is wondering why their numbers have slowly started going down. It's because why would I go to McDonald's and get a burger when I could call in a carryout order in a restaurant and get like a burger? Yeah. It was like, I saw that. I'm getting on these weird sites of TikTok, and it's like TikTok and Instagram Reels, and I'm like, you know what? It's like James Charles drama.
That's funny.
Big Macs being too expensive, and everyone's angry that there's no ACOTAR release. And I'm just like, what is my For You page, man? What is this nonsense? Like, oh my God, it's horrible. Oh.
It's like mine on Instagram. It's like Star Wars and then like romantic style book art and like reels and stuff like that. Like, oh my goodness, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
but hey, at least we're on time this week.
One of those days. Yeah, it feels like it's been one of those days, because I know my sister, she's a vet tech, for those of you who don't know, and she's not a people person, so she works with animals, but she still has to deal with like the animals' owners and stuff. And it was like the end of the night, and she was just tired and having to clean up and everything, and there's people who won't help clean up, and there's some drama there, and and it's like, no, like, nobody wants to do the gross job, right? Like, you know, and she is the kind of person to always step up to the plate to like do things when it needs to be done. And then the dogs were really bad today for my mom's. My mom's had a day because Bri almost tore down the whole fence today because the neighbor's dog, they let them roam around, and that dog came right up to our fence. And so Mom was by herself at the time because we hadn't woken up yet. And so my mom was like on edge all night. Alicia comes home exhausted. I got no sleep last night. It's been one of those days, like, and then you know, it's just been one of those days for everybody, I feel like.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. What are you guys reading? Let us know. Yeah. And seriously, like, what is like the new focus? Like, what is everybody's attention shifting to? Because I'm curious. So.
Yes. And if you have any like weird bookish drama or things or news, or if they make announcements and I miss it, let us know. And
I mean, we're looking.
Oh man, yeah. All right. We'll see y'all later.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.